Well, hello everybody, this is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to another episode of Poets Respond Live, our Sunday morning news show dedicated to exploring current events through the lens of poetry. Thanks so much for joining me this morning, or afternoon as it may be, or evening sometimes. As always, this is mostly an open mic, and how we do that, before we begin, I just let you know, if you have a poem, you email it to openmic@rattle.com, all one word, and then we can show it on screen. If you submitted it, I can just look it up through what you submitted through Submittable, and we can show it on screen that way as you read. So first, make sure I have the poem so I can share it with everybody. Second, send me a chat message over Skype to Rattle Poetry, all one word. Just send me a message and say, hi, I'd like to read a poem, and I will pull you up. Give you a call when the time is right. Same thing works for phone. Just give me a call, 818-850-7727. Let it ring a few times, then hang up. I will call you back when the time is right. But before we begin, I should say that Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been in continuous publication since 1995 and are unaffiliated with any other organization. We just do this because we love poetry. And if you love poetry as much as we do, please click the like button and share and subscribe and follow, depending on what platform you're watching this on. There's some way to do something, so do it right now. Now, today's poem was Relic by Russell Brakefield. And let's give him a call first. And then we also have a bonus poem, a preview of Tuesday, a poem by Rebecca Starks. So we're going to have two excellent poets to start with, then we'll open up the lines. But first, let's call up Russell, see if that works. We have them both on Skype, which is nice too. Hey, Russell, I hear you. Let me pull you into the broadcast for everybody.
Sure.
So great to see you. How you doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I just woke up a little late, but had a rough night of sleep a little bit. But I have my crown fell off
Oh no.
last night. So then I got some adhesive and glued it back on, and then I was worried all night it would fall off in my sleep and I'd swallow it.
Is
So
it?
so I'm going to the dentist on Monday.
Yeah, that's no fun.
So you have this excellent poem. I just love the imagery in this. Do you want to tell a little bit about like what compelled you to write it?
Sure. Yeah, and thanks so much for publishing it. And thanks for doing what you do over there. It's awesome. Yeah, I this is a brand new poem. Really, I wrote it last week, and it was just like most poems, sort of a bunch of scribblings. You know, um, I'm a teacher. I teach at a couple different universities, and I was coming back from work. We were still in person at that time, which is obviously scary and stressful. But yeah, I was just sort of in my car doing all the things you do in your car. You know, it's just like looking around and realizing how you need to clean it, basically. Yeah, and so I just had to sort of pull over and write this down, and then I kept coming back to it like right away, which I knew, usually means there's something going on that at least I like. So yeah, and I haven't really known what to say or really had too much of a desire to try and write about this time we're in, just because I don't know how. It's too big, and we're all in it. But with some of this news that seems at least a little bit positive going forward, it just was interesting to me to start thinking about how we would look back on this time, such a sort of momentous, devastating time, in history, and yeah, how we'll look at that from the other side.
Yeah, that's the other thing I loved about this too, is that it really, I think you mentioned in your note, I didn't include it because it was sort of a just submission chatter, but you mentioned when you submitted it that we probably had 1,000 or thousands of poems about the coronavirus, and let me turn off my space heater too, and yeah, this is like the first one we received that sort of imagines it being over, which felt really nice actually to read. Like after, there's so many poems first about like what's it going to be like, and then what it is like, and then and all the different complications that come along with it, and then to finally have a poem that imagines a future felt really good just to read yesterday. So thanks for sharing that for that reason too.
Yeah, it might have been a little self-serving in that way too. Like
Yeah.
I'll look to the future, right?
Well, yeah, but with these vaccines, like you mentioned, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe, hopefully. So
Yeah.
so it's nice to sort of imagine what that and really, I mean, maybe it could be like just a few months away, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we've maybe already been through the halfway point, which I hadn't even thought of. So
Right.
so I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt good reading this poem.
Yeah, yeah. It's and things change so quickly too. I think, I wonder how much this will linger in our collective consciousness, or how much we'll be just ready to like put it behind us immediately. But
Yeah. I wonder about how much like we'll have like germophobia, and like how much it'll change our social interactions in general. Like, will our feelings of how much distance we want to have between people, even when it doesn't matter as much, still feel that way? It's going to be interesting to see.
right, right.
Well, do you want to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, I'll read it for you, sure.
Okay, I have to pull out for everybody. Hang on a second.
Cool.
You can go ahead though. You can start. I'll get it. There we go.
All right. Relic. Years from now, I dislodge a mask, kneeling in a gas station parking lot to suck crumbs from the consoles, half in and half out the passenger seat. I dislodge a mask from the floor mat, flattened and streaked, folded on itself like a wounded bird, but still retaining its feather blue tint. Ear straps flung aside like broken wings, its sunken breast smudged where I once pressed my mouth. The downy screen through which I filtered my life, where my words were wrung out and carried off as on a soft wind. A dirty plume that held prayers and songs and desperate transactions, where I said even I love you in a muffled tone, where I said even I'm home, standing in the doorway, forgetting for a brief moment which were the safer parts of the world.
Just an excellent poem. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing it with other people, for publishing it. It's amazing.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, and hope to see you again soon, Russell.
Absolutely. Take care,
You
Tim.
too. Yes, it was Russell Brakefield with today's poem "Relic." Another return to the coronavirus, but a different kind of turn. And there's so many great lines in that, especially toward the end. Forgetting for a brief moment which were the safer parts of the world. What a great way to put what we're sort of all going through right now. Let's go to our second poet. We have a preview of Tuesday's poem, and I'm going to call up Rebecca Starks right now. So for everybody watching on video, you get to see Tuesday's poem before everybody else does. Hey, Rebecca, thanks so much for joining in. And I see you're shutting off the stream too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. So how are you doing today? And where are you? You're in Vermont?
I'm in
is that right?
Vermont. Yeah, Richmond, sort of near Burlington, so up near Canada.
Awesome. How are things going there? Is it because I wonder if
Doing really well.
Yeah.
But then it just started getting bad again. So now we can walk with one other person outside, but otherwise we're not supposed to gather with other people.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to and keep traveling from in and out before it spikes again. No Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's too
Probably
bad.
similar. I have a sister out in LA, so I'm sort of familiar with where you are.
Yeah, I'm up in the mountains above LA, so I can sort of look down on the city. So your poem. Do you want to say a little bit about what you were writing about?
Sure. I mean, there's been so much news about the disinformation, just the different political spins being put on things, especially, I mean, around the election. And I guess Russell went to the future, and I kind of went to the past to try to escape, but also think about why it was bothering me so deeply, that just the being lied to, and then seeing people very close to me believing what to me are obvious lies. So I just try and understand where, I don't know, how that's possible.
Yeah, and the poem is kind of I won't say it's not really an extended metaphor, but it's sort of an illustrative series. Where did you come up with that idea? Was there really a friend who sort of told you the story, or
Well, I guess I want to keep the ambiguity a little bit, but
yeah,
in a
okay.
way, it's its own possibly disinformation
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
on in
Because
the poem.
it really reminded me. We had a alcoholic. I guess mother. My father's like fourth marriage or something was to a woman who was an alcoholic, and we found bottles all over the house in the same way that appears in this poem, and it really drew back these memories. That I kind of forgot about. It was sort of one wild ride of a year for us, but it really resonated as something very true to me. So, well, do you want to go ahead and read it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of disinformation, I'm remembering for a friend who grew up in a household with an alcoholic father whose illness was kept secret from the kids. Only the mom knew why all the copies of the key to the car trunk were broken off, but one, the one he kept with him. I'm remembering for her how one day while the kids watched cartoons on the couch, they found a half-empty vodka bottle wedged between the cushions and brought it to their mom, not knowing what it was. And how later that evening, when the father had them all stand in front of the couch where he sat on one cushion, their mom on the other, hands folded in her lap, a cardboard storage box resting on the crack between them, and once everyone was still, proceeded to explain that this bottle was a prize he was meant to give out at an award ceremony. It had come in this cardboard box with its 2 sets of flaps he opened to demonstrate how it must have slipped out and fallen between the cushions, where some of it evidently spilled and evaporated. How the kids wouldn't have remembered beyond that day to this, except that it seemed so strange and formal, the way he called a press conference about it, when it was plain as day, the box, the bottle, the crack between the cushions.
Yeah, thanks so much. An excellent poem. The speaking of disinformation, and it really, I don't know, as a story to sort of capture the feeling of maybe the last political cycle. I mean, that ending where the way he called a press conference about it when it was plain as day. Yeah, that's just such a cool. I don't know, vivid way to describe what another thing we've all been living through for the last several years. So, thanks for sharing this, Rebecca.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you later.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye. This was Rebecca Starks with her poem for Tuesday, Speaking of Disinformation. And let's see. Now we're going to go to the open line portion of the show, and we have a whole bunch of people lined up. Some new people who haven't called in before, which is nice. Hope to join tomorrow's. Let's see. So I wonder if Lyndon Nemec Foster is here. She sent me a message yesterday that she'd like to join. I think we'll do her later, and maybe it'll pop up that she's live. Let's do Miguel Garcia. Let's see. So, phone's ringing for Miguel. I'll try to find his poem while we do that. Doesn't seem like Miguel's picking up. We'll try Miguel again. In just a little bit. No answer, so we'll try him again in just a minute. Linda Nemec Foster here. Okay, great. So let's try Linda again. I guess she has 2 separate accounts. Let's do Linda. Hopefully that'll work. Well, the phone is ringing, and Linda is not answering either. I think there's a ringer on if you don't use Skype very much. A lot of people have the ringer off just so they don't have to get interrupted by their computer, which I do the same thing actually. But so make sure you turn your ringer on so that we can call you, and I'll call back both Miguel and Linda in just a little bit. Let me see if I. There we go. Yeah, so that's there. Let me try. Let's do Angela Gartner. She has Family Dinner. It's a poem I remember reading yesterday. It was a good one. So let's talk to Angela. I'm sure she'll answer. Hey, Angela. Thanks so much for joining in.
Sorry.
Hi. Yeah, we're good. How are you doing today?
Good, real good. And you know what? I just wanted to say, Russell's poem and, the poems you pick were so good. And when I read Russell's poem this morning, I'm like, we just need some hope.
We do.
I've been despondent about like life and sad and all my poems have been so like mean, but like I thought writing a lot of mean poems, and it's like, oh wait, let's get back into a hopeful mind frame. So I really appreciate you publishing.
Yeah, I hope we do too. And I keep hearing the phrase dark winter. Everyone keeps saying dark winter, and I do not want to hear that phrase ever. It's such a terrible sort of like self-fulfilling, like negative. I don't know. I mean, it might be a bad winter, but I don't want to think that way, at least if I don't have to. So I don't know. So hope is a really good thing. And did you send, let's see. Yeah, you sent an update, I guess, here. Okay. And I remember this poem from the submissions. It was up in the top tier of what I was thinking of. I like this one a lot. Is this the same one, or is this a big revision, Family Dinner?
No, it's actually not a big revision at all. I just took out like the explanation at the bottom.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Why don't you say what it's about, first of all, I guess?
Well, I was thinking, I submitted this actually in September, but it was when we started kind of getting back together as families, and, everyone has so many different opinions, and that's the same thing. It's just about like how divisiveness, and I mean, with Thanksgiving, with not a lot of families getting together, I'm reimagining what dinner would be, because it's the same, even though, the election is over. That hasn't gone away. So it's just like, and I don't know, I'm thinking maybe I should do a chapbook all on birds, because I just feel like my bird poems have been, it's kind of also thinking of Twitter too, because Twitter is a big thing where they're just like fiercely at each other. So it's a combination between dinner and what we would have at family dinner if we actually can have family dinners.
Yeah, that's true. Great explanation. Well, why don't you go ahead and read it? I'll put it up for everybody.
Okay. Family dinner. Two birds of the same species chirp angrily at each other in high-pitched keys. The unbridled chatter of the pair didn't dissipate as the flock chimed in. They flashed their wings to cautiously prepare to tweet their grievances more fiercely. The continuous pecking of wills causes pain. They want to get their points across clearly. The rigid opinions in defending their territories is matched with the dreariness of the sky. Neither will waver in their asperities. A choice is to fly away and leave the other bird to its next prey. To stay would hinder the hope of tolerance. Postures of peace won't ever be silent.
So thanks so much for sharing. That was Family Dinner by Angela Gartner. Thanks as always, Angela. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you. I hope so. I hope the dentist answers the phone on Monday. I'd like to actually eat my Thanksgiving dinner. But anyway, thanks so much, Angela. Have a good one.
Have a good week.
You too. Okay. Okay, let's try Linda Nemec Foster again. We published Linda a haiku of Linda's in issue 29, I think it was, or 30, 29. Hey, Linda, can you hear me? I don't hear you or see you, but we're connected. Oh, here you come, I think. Oh, we lost it. Well, we'll try again in a minute. We'll jump back to Miguel and see. Oh, Linda's calling me now. Maybe this will work. Hey, hey, there you go. I see you now. I can't hear you though. There's no sound. You might have it on mute. Nope, that wasn't on mute. Did The sound's not coming in. Yeah, we can't hear you. I'll call you back in just a little. I'll call you back a little later, and maybe you can get it figured out. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can hear me, but I can't hear you, so I'm sorry. Okay, let's do Allison Hackett. Yeah, it seems like there's some Skype trouble today. There's a lot of echo on Rebecca Starks, and a couple of people can't connect. One of those days, maybe. The servers are loaded or something. But let's see what Allison Hackett has for us. Hey, Allison, how you doing today?
Hi, how are you, Tim?
I'm doing great. How are things in Ireland?
A lot of echo on.
They're good. Sorry, I thought I'd change that there.
Okay.
Got a bit of panic. Want to turn the thing off?
So how are things today? Everything going good there, or?
They're good. They're good in Ireland. I actually emailed to the open mic email a couple of photographs of where I was walking this morning. I don't know if you have a chance.
I do.
to
Yeah, these are beautiful. Let me find your. I'll find your poem first, so I can flip over to it, and then I'll
The poem is called "Woman Citizen."
Okay, let me find it. Okay, I have your poem, and I'll show everybody these photographs. So these are photos you took walking.
Yeah, I was walking with my husband up on the hill on the coast, very near to where we live this morning, and it was just beautiful.
Oh,
so
it is, yeah.
I did a couple of those photographs, and my daughter is living in Canada at the minute, so it was nice to send her them and nice to share with you guys because you're from all across the world.
Yeah, that is beautiful. What's the weather like this time of year there? Is it really cold? It doesn't look too bad.
It's really mixed. We just have had, actually during the first lockdown and during this current lockdown, just the most beautiful weather. So it's like something happened in Ireland, because normally we just get so much rain and, grey clouds and all of that. But today it was just gorgeous. So Irish people just get out. Whenever the weather is nice, we get out because it rains.
Well, that's something that we sort of take for granted here in California, because it's always beautiful.
Exactly.
It's even now, up in the mountains, it's 60 for the high, which is like perfect. I played a nice 3 sets of tennis yesterday, and it was just gorgeous looking at the blue skies and the perfect weather.
Nice.
Yeah. So what did you, Women Citizen, can you explain what this was about?
So there were a couple of articles I was reading during the week, and one of them was Sarkozy in France had been in touch with the New York Times and was sort of complaining about the difference, the way the media pays attention to the life of Muslims in America versus in France. And he was raising this issue, which I think is really interesting, that America has a multicultural society, and everyone's free to display their religion in whatever way they want in public. France is kind of quite different. It has this concept of laïcité, which is that the citizenship comes first, and that there's an agreed way that we all behave as citizens, and they actually don't allow the full face covering for Muslim people, or for anybody for that matter, because they feel that they don't want people overtly expressing their religion in public, but that everybody feels the same. Everybody feels like a citizen. And I think it's a very interesting debate, and it got me thinking about, if you are a Muslim woman who is in the religion where you are expected to cover up fully, where would you rather be? Would you rather be in America, where you can go out fully covered, and as to whether that's your free choice, or whether there's a lot of restrictions with your religion that makes you feel you have to do that, or whether you'd like to be in France, where you're actually not allowed fully cover up, and you can wear the head bit but not fully cover your face. And then there was another article about a Muslim woman. Well, I don't know if she was Muslim, but she was writing from Pakistan. And she was saying, this was also in the New York Times, and this was just deeply shocking about how awful it is to be a woman in Pakistan at the moment, the amount of violence against women, the sexual violence. And it really was deeply, deeply shocking. So I added the first stanza and the last stanza had been written based on the first article and thinking about it. Yeah, because the first one set in New York, the last one set in Paris, and then I inserted the middle stanza in set in Pakistan, so that it was just to try and explore. And I'm really I'm not trying to do cultural appropriation or anything like that. I really wanted to explore what it might be like to be a woman in either of these places, with the added context of being a Muslim. So that's really where it came from.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I never knew, knew of course about the face covering ban in France, but I didn't know the context there of that. That's interesting. Well, do you want to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, yes, thanks. Woman citizen. She steps out in New York, her burqa of pale blue skill. She steps out in New York, her burqa of pale blue silk slips down over her cheekbones. She inhales its softness. The space through which she sees is blurry, cloth gridded, but she no longer notices its intrusion on her clarity of vision. She feels free from the unsolicited male gaze. At home, her family, her man know her unveiled, unhidden. Out here in the dizzy mix of cultures, she feels safe displaying her faith. She steps out in Islamabad, in Purdah. Her black burqa can't contain her anger seeping out between stitches, anger at living under male hegemony. And underneath her rage, she feels fear of forced marriage, fear of forced sex, fear of a destiny of servitude. She used to feel happy when she was a girl, as free as a boy. She steps out in Paris, her long hair up, turban style, reminding us of the 60s. Her eyes meet the eyes of a woman beside her on the metro. They smile in a flicker of sisterhood. She loves being in France, that the French nation says she must be unveiled in public, that for her fellow citizens no stealth is needed. She's human, woman, citizen, part of the Commonwealth.
Interesting. Thanks so much for sharing that. That was Woman Citizen by Alison Hackett. Thanks, as always, Alison. Always a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Good. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's hit. Oh, hey, Miguel's here now. Let's call up Miguel. Hey, Miguel, good to see you. Let me pull you into the broadcast. So how you doing today? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? We hear and see you.
All good. London is pretty dark now these days. I mean, the time's already like 5 p.m. here.
Oh, yeah. So let me find. I think there's a bit of a delay. I think the servers might be tired on.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you might be listening. Can you shut off your stream that's live, because there's a 30-second delay. I think you're answering me like 30 seconds. I think you're listening to the video and not the like the stream and not the phone call. Let's see if we can get that figured out. I have to find. So his poem is Ulysses, which I have right here. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I think it's still kind of messed up. I'll call you back. Shut off your stream, and then I'll call you back the next guest, and I think that'll work out. Okay. Sorry about that. It does get tricky, but it's always great to have veteran callers who have gone through the trickiness. So let's call up Richard Westheimer. Hey, Richard, how you doing today?
Good morning, Tim. I hope my audio and video are okay. I know you've been having a little heartaches this morning.
Yeah, it's one of those days. I think more, some days more people are on Skype than others, and maybe things mess up. And new callers too. It's tough to figure out sometimes the first time to join in, because there's a lot of little quirks that can happen. But yeah, so just to let everybody know, if I call you and for Miguel later, I think what was happening is there's a 30-second delay on the stream. So I think he was listening to me 30 seconds before, and which makes it so you can't really interact. So shut off if you're tuning in. If I call you, shut off your stream so you're not confused. It's the same as the radio. The radio, if you call in like a call-in show, has like that 10-second FCC delay, and they're always like, shut off your phone before you, or shut off your radio before, or turn the volume down. So do that too for this stream, because it's the same kind of deal, except it's a bigger delay even. So what poem did you want to share today? Is this I See the Shape?
No, There Are No Maskless Men Standing in Line at the Local Pharma.
Okay. Oh, so you were prolific today. Double duty this week.
Well, there are a lot of stories.
Yeah.
So speaking of stories, I was a little interested to hear you talk about the beautiful weather where you are, when a month ago you were showing us pictures of fires behind you. And
yeah, we live in a wild, like living in mountains is wild. We have like the floods, and the monsoon comes and we get floods. There's certain streets just get buried once a year, and then there's we got last Thanksgiving we had 3 feet of snow.
Oh my!
But
goodness.
then once once all that breaks, the weather is beautiful in between. So we get these like storms, and in between it's beautiful. And I'm playing tennis, like we're shovel off the tennis court, and then we keep playing all summer, and it's beautiful. So what did you want to share? What was your poem about?
It's almost the opposite of the one that you selected for today, because it's sort of like we're still living in this time of, like, while there is, quote, hope, we have to live with the sense that, there's still a deadly disease out there. And I encountered my first mask rage the day after our governor put on a mask mandate.
Mm-hmm.
And it was both revealing to me about how strongly people feel, but also about my own sort of holier than thou attitude sometimes when I'm out there in public and judging folks without really understanding what's going on beneath.
Yeah, I remember that I was getting mask rage all the time in like May or so, when there were at the store, you'd have some without a mask. It was before they made it like the law, but it was like recommended, and someone would be like breathing and coughing on some poor old lady right next to the milk section, and I just wanted to throttle them. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a mix, right?
Yeah.
I live in a rural, very conservative
Mm-hmm.
part of Southwest Ohio, and folks are, well, it's a tough life for some of them. So this was sort of me coming to grips with the fact that while I was right that the guy should put on a mask, I also wasn't seeing beyond certain things.
Yeah, I think that's why I've kind of come to think about it too. I don't have the rage as much as I did in the spring,
Right.
although it still happens all the time. Okay, let's hear it. Go ahead.
Okay. There are no maskless men standing in line at the local pharmacy. I must have flipped some unseen switch, made the man jitter like ripsaw teeth dragged along a gravel road. He's maskless in a masked world, and I prod him to cover up or back off. He erupts. I've goddamn had enough. No COVID's going to keep me down because it's all overblown. And I ain't done nothing wrong. I am okay. It's all y'all who's sick. It's not me. Never was. I back away. He sprays. You're all pussies, but I'm okay. I am okay. And fucking tired of all this COVID shit. I am so damn tired. So tired. And though my fear's a haze, I see he wears a mask, just one that covers some scar my scoldings rubbed raw. And all I'd done was feed some fire already raging. I knew better. I must have, but I baited him anyway. What kind of man pokes a caged bear? I guess my kind, whose wheedling need to preach needs to be unmasked.
Hey, great poem. Thanks so much. Great to see the other side of it, which is really the purpose of poetry, I think, in my opinion, is to try to see every side of everything. So thanks for sharing that, Richard.
Yeah, it was sort of the writing of it that sort of changed my view about how to approach folks who are struggling with this.
Yeah. It's what poetry does and why we do what we do. So thanks for participating in it. As always, it's always great to see you and hear your poems.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, let's go back to let's see. So let's go back to Miguel, and hopefully we can get the sound working right, so we can talk. If I'm going to say this right now in case it's got the same problem as before. Miguel, just go ahead and read your poem if we can't talk, and I'll just show it, and you can just explain your poem and read it. But we'll try to connect. Let's see. Hey, Miguel, let's see. Does it work now?
Yeah, I think it works now.
Excellent. Okay, we're back in business. Okay, good. So this is Miguel Barreto Garcia calling from London, right? Is that right?
I'm calling from London.
Excellent. And how are you doing today?
All good. Just like with the previous caller, like the weather was pretty fantastic here, so yeah, I just managed to make the most out of it while there was sun.
How are things, especially with the COVID in London? I was wondering because I'm trying to look at like regionally. I know London was like the first wave hit hard in London with COVID. Is it like more the surrounding areas, or is it London itself that's sort of struggling too?
Well, the whole of England is on lockdown until the 2nd of December. The cases, I mean, London in general, it's not. Across England, it's pretty bad, but it's actually like most of the really tough cases, like the cases are really tougher on the northern part of England.
Mm-hmm.
London is kind of doing somewhere like in between or in the middle.
Yeah, gotcha. So what did you write about this week?
So I wrote about. So it has something to do with I'm from the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote something that had something to do with a typhoon that also passed by the Philippines like a week ago, and apparently it was a lot of people were struggling on top of the pandemic, and then typhoon. I mean, I think it was the third typhoon that passed by through the country, and that was particularly tough for a lot of people there.
And was this Ulysses?
Yeah, Ulysses.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So I have it up. Go ahead and read it whenever you're ready.
All right, I can start reading it now. Ulysses. It was a journey indeed to read you, as many scars do, a permanence that only demands to be read. Page after page of onslaught and grief. Your son looking for you, your wife withering each day. Each wilting petal unravels a Gorgon's soft, stone-stricken heart. We listen to you howl. Like poetry, it has become tradition to record a body bag as a song before we bury them underneath our thoughts. Another body bag follows. A finger scratches the walls to keep count, filling from side to side as grand canvas, graves or works of art. We stare closely inside museums, so close we hear a long gasp of breath before we hear the river swallow you back as myth. Even if we tie ourselves to the mast, the first floor is now floating. The chairs and tables and family photos, shipwrecked Titanics, lost into their void. 10 days stretched into 10 hollow years, and how a body is stretched into thin strips. We could have rolled you and run you as film, but mother could not bear. To see you is to see betrayal, the armor grown to rust. The sword took the place of your tongue. Before us is a sculpture sitting on grass, like an epitaph, a book gathering dust and vine. The next visitor will be your grandson, curious to see you, but forgot to love you, as we all do. The spine of the book, how it is like you, lifting me to pick fruit. I did not imagine, Father, that I gather you after the storm.
Beautiful and touching poem. That was Miguel Barreto Garcia with Ulysses. Thanks so much for sharing that, Miguel. And how devastating was the tsunami or the typhoon? This one.
it's considered as like one of, I mean, the typhoon was not as, I mean, in terms of its intensity, it was not as bad, but because it was like the third typhoon that passed by, so like it just really accumulated and just really hit hard on a lot of communities in the Philippines.
Yeah, well, that's awful. Did you, how long did you live in the Philippines?
So I lived there mostly in my teens, so for about like 10 years.
Did you live through a lot of hurricanes, or how many did you experience?
So I lived in the middle, like in the central part of the Philippines. So I've often heard hurricanes or typhoons passing by, but we're always like spared most of the time. It's always like somewhere on the eastern part or somewhere in the northern part of the country.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, thanks for sharing. That was an excellent poem. One of the really good ones this week. Thanks for sharing it. I'm glad you could.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too. Enjoy.
Okay. Yes, that was Miguel Barreto Garcia. And let's try Linda Nemec Foster again. Maybe we'll get it to work this time. I think I still have her poem up. Yep, I do. If we can connect. Nope, not working yet. Okay, let's go to. Let's. You know what? I think I will read. Carlton Johnson asked me to read his poem again. So let's see. Yeah. So here's This is Carlton Johnson, and this is called 700 Years and Counting. Let me put it up on let me put it in a Word doc really quick for everybody. And 7,000 Years and Counting. I don't know if I said 700, 7,000 Years and Counting. I'll put that title in too. Okay, so this is Carlton Johnson's poem, and let me put it on screen for everybody. Here we go. There it is, 7,000 Years and Counting by Carlton Johnson. Stop, you on hallowed ground where no one has to trod. For thousands of years before, the belief in one God took root and branches formed. I was lain here cold and lifeless, blue in the youth of innocence, then death came along, spiking nails, scratching at my last breath. When I died, my parents laid me in this cave, an ochre-painted stone, my sole pillow. I crave a memory that stretches beyond my demise to now, wherever now is. When I died, I don't know why the elders took the long bones from my remains for a separate ceremony, and it still pains me to consider I have been alone, and for so many years alone from a time when I, at 4 or 6, lived with fears. My mom and dad are all gone. The lights in the sky are still here, and I will be long after. I cry for my spirit that this deported soul lies in this cold cavern, but now it flies. That's interesting. So I'm assuming this is about a 7,000-year-old remains of a child that was found somewhere. Let me see if on a different. Let me try to find a different. Yeah, there is a link here. This is here we go. I should have told you this ahead of time, but this is what the poem was about. Mysterious burial of a child 8,000 years ago is now unearthing secrets of a lost time. So here is this article from sci-fi.com. And thousands of years ago, a child, no more than 8, at the time of death, was laid to rest. The child's cheeks and forehead were painted with ochre, their head laid on a stone, also colored with ochre, and their arm and leg bones were removed before the body was finally buried in a cave. This grave would remain undisturbed for millennia until, I assume, archaeologists uncovered this. So it's the only complete child burial that remains from this period in Australia. So very interesting article here. Check it out at sci-fi.com. And thanks for sharing that, Carlton Johnson. Excellent look through the eyes of that child. Let's see. There's a ton of people on the list today. Hopefully we can get to as many people as possible. Let's see. We'll try Linda again, and then if that doesn't work, we'll go to Nivi in India. See how Nivi's doing today. So the phone's ringing for Linda, but but I guess we didn't figure it out. Maybe next week, Linda, if you if you want to try again next week, or if you want to give a test call for me sometime during the week, just let me know, and maybe we can get you on next Sunday, and we can work out whatever's going wrong. Let's do this 616 number to make sure we get as many new people. I don't think this is somebody we've talked to before, and then we'll do Nivi, and then I think we'll be about out of time. Let's see who this is. It's 616.
Hello?
Hey, this is Tim with Rattle. Did you want to share a poem?
Oh, boy, Tim. Hi. Thanks for calling. Our internet is totally down. Everything.
Is this Linda?
Yes, this is Linda. This
excellent.
is Linda. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. So I guess it's just it's not really you. I think there's been internet problems all day today. But we hear you now.
Man.
So your voice is on. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for calling. I really appreciate it. So anyway, we're here in Michigan. I think probably the vibe of Betsy DeVos. She is in our neck of the woods. I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, West Michigan. So maybe the vibe of Betsy DeVos is doing something to our internet.
Well, if it is, she's doing it everywhere because it was happening all over the world today, I think. But so what did you write? What did you write about this week, Linda?
Yes. Well, this poem is about the crazy business with Trump and his cronies and Rudy Giuliani. And I have been following, what's been going on post-election chaos. And what topped the bill was two weird things that involved Rudy Giuliani. First, that bizarre news conference in North Philadelphia a few days after the election. I think it was the Saturday after the election, where it was in the parking lot of the Four Seasons Landscaping Company. And that happened between the adult bookstore and a crematorium service, which was a perfect metaphor to what is going on with Trump and his cronies. And it was during that news conference that Giuliani found out that the AP, the Associated Press, had called the election for Biden, which of course they're still contesting. But I thought nothing could top that. Well, on Thursday, Rudy Giuliani even topped that bizarre moment when he had another news conference in D.C. where he was sweating so much that his hair dye was streaming down both sides of his face. And I thought to myself, this is it. You cannot make this up.
No, it should be some kind of this is Spinal Tap type comedy. Maybe that's what we're living through. The creator of the simulation, it has a dark sense of humor.
Okay. So this is what this poem is about: the rage against the machine, but also this black humor. Now, do you have? Because I can't see you. Do you have the poem up?
I do too. Yeah. So you go ahead and read it, but there's a delay in the feed, so you have to read your own copy. But I'll have it up so everybody else can read.
All right. Very, very good. So anyway, this is coming from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and my name is Linda Nemec Foster. I know sometimes people fudge that middle name, but it's Linda Nemec Foster. And here is the poem. It's called Between Here and There, Rudy's Dyed Hair. Between the fake and the real, between the then and now, between the sublime and the ridiculous, between the common good and a self-serving ego, between the freedom of words and the mob's bombastic yell, between the truth and the hypocrite, between the lie that taunts and the calm voice of reason, between the NPR analysis and the late show monologue. Rudy emerges from this preamble, this litany of the era, to quote lines from My Cousin Vinny and Not the Constitution at a news conference in a basement in D.C. and sweats his hair, his hair dye, away. He rants, "This is real. It's not made up. There's nobody here who engages in fantasies, like the fantasies of a defunct president and his 73 million plus followers who rant and rave just as loud as Rudy does. But maybe he sweats more than they do, as his face contorts and his lower teeth clench yellow, and his hair color sweating down both sides of his face like mascara, like Hershey's syrup, like motor oil, like shit. You can't make this up, and who would want to? Only a fake lawyer between a rock and a hard place, between the alpha and the omega, between the yin and the yang, between the luxury hotel and a gritty parking lot, between the rule of law and a reality show, between the half-life of porn and the cremains, between sweat and the stained handkerchief, between the barely living and the barely there.
Excellent poem. I love that ending too, Linda. Thanks so much for sharing that. That was Between Here and There, Rudy's Dyed Hair. And yeah, oh man, I don't even know what to say, but thanks for...
I don't know what to say either. And I have so much faith in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and that is where my faith resides. So upward and onward. And Tim, thank you so much for calling me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Hope you can join us again soon, Linda.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, that was Linda Nemec Foster with Between Here and There, Rudy's Dyed Hair. And yeah, that reminds me, when we have trouble, I should tell people to call by phone if possible. That should be something that I always remind everybody of too, because that's always good. Let's see, I have 7 minutes. Let's do both. I think let's see. Yeah, let's do both Nivi and let's do Danny Mask to make sure I think that's everybody if we do that. So we can go a little bit over time. That's fine with me. The Bills aren't playing today. It's bye week. Let's see. So
hello.
Hey, Nivedita, how are you doing today?
Hey, Tim. I'm doing good, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. Now, what poem? What did you write about this week?
So I saw a couple of news articles about Christmas since it's so close, and they were like how Christmas has changed so much these days with everything going online. And of all the news stories that I saw, the one that caught my attention the most was AI Santa Claus. It was done by this company called Storyfile, and they actually had they pre-recorded some of the common questions that are asked. They had a huge Santa in his sleigh and everything, and then there were these kids sort of asking questions and Santa interacting with them, and it just made me realize how things were slowly changing. I mean, from what was 10 years ago to now, it has changed, but then because of this pandemic, in the short 10 months, it's changed so much more. So I was just sort of contrasting what was and what is now. And I took inspiration from Rattlecast of Mr. Bryan's poem, and I was like, let's challenge myself and make this in under 10 minutes if possible. So just managed to eke out in 8.5 minutes, and I was like, no, if I go back to change it, it'll become more than 10. So let's just stop it there.
Excellent. Yeah, it is hard.
Much
to
like
write
you also
poems
did,
that fast.
actually.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, whenever. Gone are the days. I'll put it up for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Gone are the days. Gone are the days when Santa's jolly happy smile made you young again. Now, Santa's smile is hidden beneath a mask. Gone are the days when picking out a tree was a day out at the farm. Now, it's here at the click of a button. Gone are the days when making snowmen was the highlight of winter. Now, clumps of snow resemble the deadly virus. Gone are the days when a visit to Santa was the highlight of the season. Now, AI has taken over this as well. Gone are the days when people wished for some time alone. Now, one is company and two is a crowd.
Excellent. That was Nivedita Karthik with Gone Are the Days. Thanks so much for joining as always, Nivi. It's always great to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, have a good
night. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and then let's finish up with Danny Mask. I do think we have everybody. If I missed you, there's a lot of people on this list. We got through a lot today. If I missed anybody, though, I'm sorry. I think Danny's the last one, though. We'll find his poem really quick. Well, the phone is ringing. He might have left because I said maybe he'd be the last. Yeah, I think he's not going to answer. Or maybe his ringer's off. Yep. So that didn't work. Well, I guess we'll get under time anyway. So sorry, Danny. Maybe next week we'll hit you up. We'll finish off as always with my little haiku, which I wrote in my head this morning as I was making for my coffee to percolate. The story that caught my eye this week was over on Science Daily, which is my one of my daily destinations. And it was this poem. This news story: zebra finches amazing at unmasking the bird behind the song. The spirited birds can rapidly memorize the signature of sounds of at least 50 different members of their flock. And then the summary here, like humans who can instantly tell which friend or relative is calling by the timbre of a person's voice, zebra finches have a near human capacity for language mapping. And what this team did at, where were they? They were at the University of California, Berkeley. They have these domesticated zebra finches, which are native to Australia. And they trained them to expect food when a familiar bird call sound appeared, and so they could recognize the sound of people's voices, or not people, other zebra finches. And what they found is that they could memorize at least 50 different members of their own flock. And it struck me as very interesting because we do the same thing as humans, and I wondered if that number 50 is related to Dunbar's number, which is the number of people that we can keep track of as human beings. It's about 150, between 100 and 250, and they averaged out to 150. But that's based on our neocortex size, and that's the number of people you can sort of keep track of your social interactions with. And beyond that number, you can't, because your brain's just not big enough to hold that much information about people. So the shorthand for Dunbar's number is always, if you saw somebody on the street, would you want to have a beer with them? And there's 150 people that you can deal with at that level. And so since zebra finches live in swarms, or whatever you'd call it, of 50 birds, it's interesting that that's about how big they can memorize the bird sounds. So anyway, that is my little haiku for today. It's an interesting little fun science story, and here's my haiku to go along with it. All these years, your voice on the phone, still bird song. All these years, your voice on the phone, still bird song. That's my haiku for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Always like to finish up with a haiku. Before we go, I should let you know the next guest on the Rattlecast is going to be Steve Henn. That is Tuesday, November 24th, and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, Rattlecast number 68. Steve Henn's most recent book is Indiana Noble, Sad Man of the Year. A lot of emotion, a lot of variation in Steve Henn's work. It's going to be really interesting to see his poems and share them with you and talk to Steve. And the prompt for this week is to go to, maybe before we do that, I should just show you what the prompt is. Let me maybe turn this down. So the prompt for this week was to go to randomstreetview.com. And if you go to randomstreetview.com, which I just did, all you have to do is type that in, and you get a random street view. And this was it. This is a field in Cambodia. And this is the street view of a field. You can see, you might think at first, this is Nebraska or something, but then over here you see a palm tree in the distance. So go to randomstreetview.com, find a random street view, and then write a poem about that. That is your ekphrastic challenge for this week. It's I don't know, it's like an ekphrastic kind of prompt. And so for the prompt at the end of the Rattlecast, that's what we'll do. We will share your poems about random street views. It sounds a lot of fun, I think. I'm looking forward to doing this one. And anyway, the next week's guest, like I said, is Steve Henn. That is Tuesday, November 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And I hope to see you then. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Sunday. Goodbye.